G'day guys, and welcome to another YouTube lesson. Today we're going to be looking at the operations business function. We're continuing on from the discussion about the syllabus. Try and keep it a little bit shorter than that 20 minutes of pain that you went through before. But we're taking a look at the first part of operations, which is, as always, the role. In this case, the role of operations management. There's 3 syllabus dot points we will be addressing this lesson, and that is the strategic, the long-term role of operations management, including whether to be a cost leadership business or a good and or service differentiation business. The second dot point we shall address are goods and or services in different industry types, and the last dot point is interdependence with other key business functions. Now, the role of operations management, it's important to understand what that means. This refers to the job of operations managers and what they must perform in relation to their key business function, in this instance, operations. Now, their job, the job of an operations manager, the role of an operations manager, is to create an output, final good or service, using inputs such as raw materials, which are transformed resources, and turn them into an output through the transformation process, okay, and using labor and machinery, HR and facilities, known as transforming resources. All right, now the strategic role of operations management, that's that first dot point. As always, it takes me a while to get to them. What's strategic mean? You should know by now, guys, we've been through this many times. What time frame are we talking about? 3 or more years is what we're looking at. Operational is day-to-day stuff, and tactical is between that, a medium time frame, 1 to 2 years. All right, so some of the long-term strategic operational decisions made by a business, some examples of this. So we're looking at strategic operational decisions. What would you be looking at? What type of aspects? What type of questions? Something like, should a business manufacture its goods in Australia or overseas? That'd be a strategic decision. You know, if you're looking at bonds, they took their manufacturing that was in Australia to overseas, to Southeast Asia. I can't quite recall the country, but that would be good to be talking about in your essays. Now, that didn't happen just like that. It was a strategic decision made in operations. Another example of a strategic question and decision would be, should a business purchase, buy, source its raw materials locally or overseas? And there's pros and cons for that. And again, it's generally a decision that's taken with a long-term view. Domestically may be more expensive, quality could be better. Overseas, often cheaper, quality perhaps, not always, could be of an inferior quality. But that's a long-term decision. Now, other questions that need to be asked if you're an operations manager in terms of the strategic role of operations include, for the product, what new products need to be developed? Question mark. That's something to think about. What products are reaching the end of their life cycle, their product life cycle, and need to be deleted from operations? Like an iPhone. I had an iPhone 3GS, I think, years ago. Stuff Apple, don't like them. Android's the way to go now. Power to the people. Anyhow, they don't obviously make those anymore. iPhone, 4G, S or whatever it was. They don't make those either. So they deleted these old school products from their product line. These are strategic decisions. When they come up with a new iPhone, they just delete all the other ones. They still sell the previous models for a time. And especially in developing worlds, it's cheaper at established technology, so they sell them for much longer. Now, in terms of the processes, some questions that would be asked are, how much capital and how much labor is needed to make the process occur efficiently? Also, another question in terms of the operational processes from a strategic point of view. What developments in technology will there be that could be used in operations? Capacity is another aspect of the strategic operational role. How large does the factory need to be? Do I need to buy additional factories? Have we gone out too hard? Should we cut back the factories we've got, the staff that we have? Location would be another aspect. Should I stay in Australia or move to a different location, relocate overseas, especially my manufacturing base, as Bonds did? Can the business provide its services using the internet, and therefore I don't need bricks and mortar, shops and so on? Like Dick Smith's went out of business, but Kogan bought the intellectual property, the rights for that business, and they got rid of all of the bricks and mortar stores. For younger people who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, that's physical locations, and they have Dick Smith online. That name, that reputation, that was a strategic decision Kogan, who took over Dick Smith's, made. There's other things like factory layout, how many people we need, the quality, how it will be measured, how can we improve it, do I even want to focus on quality, or should I become a cost leadership business? These are all strategic questions, and they focus and guide that strategic direction that a business will need to take. All right, the next one we're looking at, which ties into this, is cost leadership or good service differentiation. A cost leadership strategy is where a business aims to be the lowest cost manufacturer within its industry. So it's a strategic decision to make sure they're probably purchasing the cheapest inputs possible, those raw materials and so on, so that the output doesn't cost as much, and therefore they can sell it for a cheaper price and therefore gain a competitive advantage. The products are basic, no frills types. Okay, low cost can be achieved through economies of scale, which is mass production on a large scale. Therefore, things can be done more cheaply, like buying in bulk. The business will expect, with a cost leadership business, a small profit margin on each item it sells, but they'll have a high level of sales. There's this balancing, probably not making much on each item, but selling a crap load. I don't know if I can say crap load on YouTube, but whatever. Sell a crap load of sales, and therefore total amount of revenue they're making is pretty decent. All right, the opposite of that, this all ties in that strategic decisions that need to be made, is to be a good service differentiation business. Here a business may decide that a better strategy to achieve an ongoing, sustainable, long-term competitive advantage is to differentiate, which is to distinguish, make themselves look different, its products, than aiming to be cheap as. Apple are a good service differentiation business, not a cost leadership business. They differentiate based on quality, newer technology, and have been pretty successful in doing so. Other ways that you could differentiate your business, your product, operations: better quality, faster delivery, clever design, newer technology, and so on. All right, the second dot point of today's lesson is goods and or services in different industries. Now, there's two main types of industries. There are manufacturing and service-based industries. Now there's three main industry sectors, or five if you divide the tertiary one into a further two. Okay, but in terms of the types of industries, you have manufacturing, which is primary and secondary sort of industries. I guess secondary is more manufacturing, but physical products, whether it's wheat taken from a farm in the primary industry or metal dug out of the ground, that's also a physical product, or whether it's that physical product being turned into something, which is manufacturing. And the other type of industry is a service-based industry. A goods-based industry is Toshiba computers. Not sure if I'm using that one now, I'm trying to have a look, but that would be making of a computer, would be an example of a manufacturing industry. It's got a tangible, a product you can touch, physically exists. On contrast, another type of industry that you could have, or another type of industry, are services. These are not tangible. They're not called untangible, as some kids say. They're called intangible. Services are intangible. All right, now manufactured goods require lots of equipment. We call these things capital intensive. Capital in this instance means machinery, technology, equipment. It means a lot of machinery. However, service industries, which is the fine service I'm providing you, young people, is very labour intensive. Intensive means needs lots of labour, lots of workers. Now, the advantage of services over manufacturing is it's easy to customise a service. If I've got some very intelligent kids, as I'm sure I do in my class right now, then I will be able to tailor my lessons and make them more complex for those students. If I have some students that struggle, I'm not going to say any names, but you know what I'm talking about, then I'd be able to modify, customise my lesson to make it more approachable for students with more average level of ability. However, disadvantage is it's much harder to mass produce a service. Now, there's some of the differences. Some of the similarities between service and manufacturing operations include use of technology. I'm providing a service. I'm using technology at the moment. So both do use technology generally. Okay, they both must make predictions about what consumers want and consumer demand. Both manufacturing-based industries and service-based industries must deal with customers and suppliers, those pesky clients and customers, minus students, unfortunately. They must make decisions, both ones, about capacity, location, and the layout of the business. All right, the third dot point is the interdependence with other key business functions. Now, it's the last time I should have to go through interdependence, because when we do our final topic, marketing, we would have done it for each other one. So we should know each of the ways that they interact and are reliant upon and interdependent with each other. But there are 4 parts of a business that we look at in Year 12. See if you know them. You said operations, good. So looking at that now. If you didn't, you got some serious problems. You said finance, good. Human resources and marketing, they're our 4. You need to understand what each of them are, obviously, and be able to explain how each of them impact upon each other. I'll give you some quick examples. Finance and operations. Finance will collect data and analyse the financial performance of operations. Finance provides the capital outlay for workers to be paid to produce the work. Also, those workers come from HR, so operations needs them. Okay, and operations creates the products that marketing can use to sell to customers, which generates income for finance. They are all interwoven, interconnected with each other. And you need to make sure you understand what interdependence is and how each of these business functions interact with each other and are reliant upon each other. All right, guys, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next lesson. Goodbye.